Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh boy, Pete Alonso. I'm telling you, this man has literally gone scorched earth. Scorched earth. And you know what? The amazing thing is, and you see it more and more, Pete Alonso is a heavy favorite for NL MVP. And folks, I mean, at this point right now, to me, it's not even close. It's not even close. So you know what? Let's check out the competition. Um, and let's look at some interesting things. Pete Alonso made a couple comments on what he changed. What he changed coming into this season as compared to last season. What is different in the polar bear? Because honestly, folks, whatever is different in the polar bear, he better be sharing that with Juan Soto and some of the other guys in the Mets. Maybe Brandon Nimmo, maybe obviously Juan Soto. I mean, Mark Vientos. Share it with everyone, Pete. Help us out, please. Um, with that being said, I expect our guys to eventually break out. We've seen some good things here and there. Okay, but back to this. I mean, Pete is obviously on another level. All right. So again, let's look at the competition right now. The polar bear was named the player of the month for April. The player of the month for April. And honestly, the MVP is literally going to be louder. The call for Pete Alonso MVP is going to be louder and louder. According to voting, though, Alonso hasn't done enough to supplant San Diego Padres outfielder Fernando Tatis Jr., who controls first place on the voting as it stands right now. However, the race is tightly contested as Alonso received 17 first place votes to Tatis's 16. All right, this doesn't even make sense. I'm reading this article. This doesn't make sense. Alonso has more first place votes than Tatis. Regardless, it's May, it's close, and Pete Alonso, I think, is going to have more staying power. And he has more to play for, too. He's got that contract. As of Tuesday, the Polar Bear holds the NL Best 349 batting average, 1143 OPS. After Monday's win against Arizona, where Alonso left the yard for his ninth home run of the year, teammate Francisco Lindor spoke up about his transcendence from a power hitter to a high average hitter with a lot of pop. These are Francisco's words. He goes, he's almost like a high average hitter that has a lot of pop, where before he was just a power hitter. Now he looks fantastic. I'm really happy for him. I'm proud of him. Hey, great words by the captain, Francisco Lindor, Captain Clutch. Francisco Lindor, great game last night. Great game, I gotta say. All right, so it looks like right now that the main competition for Alonso is Tatis. Many expect Shohei Ohtani to step it up. His numbers are not Ohtani numbers right now. And then you have Juan Soto. Juan Soto, a lot of people predicted him as an NL MVP candidate. So we got to see. And then you got Lindor, who I'm pretty sure wants to say some things about him potentially winning it. So a lot of exciting stuff. So fellow Mets stars Lindor and Juan Soto also receive votes, though neither cracked the top five. Soto has had a slow start compared to his normal standards, but his inclusion on the list is a reflection of his consistent dominance the four-time also has shown over his career. Lindor, on the other hand, has been stellar to start the season. Typically a slow start at the plate. Um, Lindor is doing phenomenal. Lindor is doing phenomenal. I really got to say that. I mean, you really can't say enough about Francisco Lindor, and he's not even offensively. Defensively, he is making clutch plays as well. All right, so Pete Alonso. Um, you look at Pete Alonso, right? You could look at his numbers, and they are freaking gaudy. They are gaudy. His numbers. I mean, in 130 at bats, he has 45 hits, 9 home runs, 350 batting average, 469 on base, 674 slug, 1143 OPS. If you look at Baseball Savant, I mean, it's crazy. Everything is 100. Expected WOBA, 100. Expected batting average, 99. Expected slug, 100. Exit velocity, 98. Barrel percentage, 98. If you look at Baseball Reference, Pete Alonso's leading the league in like 7 or 8 different statistical categories. I mean, Pete is just killing it. And then if you break it down even further, and if you just compare Pete to last year, like let's just say to how he was hitting the fastball, last year, Pete did decent. He hit 265 on the fastball. This year, he is hitting 370. 370. He is mashing the fastball. And if you think that's good, last year on the off speed, he hit 320. Very good. How can he top that? Well, this year on the off speed, he's hitting 421. 421. And the thing that killed Pete last year was the breaking ball, the slider off the plate. Everybody remembers that. Slider 2 feet outside, throw it to Pete Alonso. He'll swing. Not this year. Not this year. Pete Alonso is batting a very healthy 290 against the breaking ball. And now is the pitch that pitchers could get him out. Now he's hitting almost 300 against that pitch. So this is just showing you how dynamic of a hitter Pete Alonso has transformed. So again, what has Pete Alonso done to change? So Pete Alonso's secret weapon, the surprising key behind his explosive start. So Pete obviously has been emerging as a different type of player. So more than just the bat, Alonso right now is becoming a clubhouse leader. As his performance continues to shine, Alonso is becoming a media favorite, a vocal leader. Reporters often turn to him post-game for insights, proof of his rising influence both on and off the field. I mean, Pete last year said a lot of silly things, in my opinion. Said a lot of silly things, and he said a lot of un-Pete things. A lot, especially when they asked about his All-Star game and about if he was having a good season. A lot of stuff Pete answered in a not Pete Alonso way. This time, Pete is so locked in. It reminds me of 2019 Pete. So, he's just acting like a leader. So right now you have Pete acting like a leader on and off the field. That's going to help his confidence. That's going to help his standing in the clubhouse. And it's obviously helps you lead if you are doing better on the field. I mean, people will be willing to give you an ear if you're effective as opposed to if you stink. So, I mean, that just also helped Pete Alonso out. And then other things that are helping Pete Alonso, the mindset behind the breakout. And this is big, understanding his body. In a recent interview following a win over Arizona, Alonso revealed his secret, self-awareness. I feel like I'm starting to really understand my body and what it's capable of, he said, crediting clarity for his consistent success. In fact, let me read you what he said. More of that. He goes, to be honest, I feel like I'm locked into my mechanics and fully in control of my body right now. Alonso told reporters after Monday's win, if something's off, I make the adjustment and move on. My pitch-to-pitch adjustments are what they need to be. I'm not perfect, but I feel like I'm myself out there every pitch. Yeah, I mean, Pete has done a lot of things with, I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. I don't know what his routine is, but you can see he's so much healthier. He feels so much better. You can see he's flexible. He feels so much flexible. He's the way he stands in the box, the way he has a full, complete swing with power. I mean, the rotation is just off the chart right now. The balance is off the chart. Pete Alonso looks so much different. And yes, it's easy for him to make the adjustment if his body's fully healthy, if he's confident, if he's just that much better. He could play at that much higher of a level right now. So he's going to have the confidence. But again, he's knowing his body. He's knowing how to, again, take care of himself. That's good. He's taking care of himself. All right. So he's also locked in his mechanics. He's finding a rhythm. Alonso emphasized how being in tune with his swing mechanics has elevated his game. My pitch-to-pitch adjustments are what they need to be, as I just mentioned. Okay, Soto versus Alonso. The thing is Soto. I always liked that because I thought it would uplift Lindor. I thought it would uplift Alonso. Seeing a guy like a generational guy, a guy like of Soto's stature, I figured that it would, kind of motivate these two to raise their games. And now, a month into the season, Soto's looking at these two players play at a high level, saying, "Oh, I got to get myself in gear." But again, while Soto is expected to be the star, Alonso's consistency is making uh Alonso's consistently making headlines and winning ball games. Fans have noticed the difference, with many now viewing Alonso as the true face of the 2025 Mets. I mean, think about that, folks. In the beginning of this year, when we literally weren't even sure if we were signing Alonso. Think about that. We weren't even sure. We knew this was going to be Soto's team once we gave him that $800 million. But, you know, we go from not even thinking that we could sign Alonso to Alonso being the face of the 2025 Mets over Soto. I mean, that is crazy. That is crazy. So a teammate's perspective, Lindor also is really praising Pete. Francisco Lindor has praised his evolution to becoming more than just a slugger. And I think that's also very important, gaining the respect of your teammates, showing them that, you could do more than just hit home runs. Alonso's impact isn't just in the numbers, it's in his ability to lead by example. His calm, confident demeanor has helped stabilize the Mets lineup during pressure moments and close games. That was the thing last year. Could Pete step up with runners in scoring position when times were at their most, when you needed him? Could he step up? And that was in question because he left a whole heck of a lot of people on base. Not this year. Not this year. The polar bear has capitalized and he has thrived with runners in scoring position. So, that's just a couple of things Pete has changed. And a lot of it is just, you don't even have to like dig down. You could see it's noticeable. He's just such a different player. And it's just so noticeable when you see him in the box. Now, a lot of people, and I mentioned this in my last video, are saying, pay him, lock him up. Make sure he's going to be here for 4, 5, 6 years. You see how important he is. You see how much more valuable he is than even like Soto, Lindor. I mean, it's really something that Mets fans want David Stearns to do now. But I'll tell you this. You have Pete Alonso on track to potentially win the MVP. You have Pete Alonso on track to potentially capitalize on gambling on himself and capitalizing in a historic way, turning this 30 or $24 million payday that he would have had next year into a $40+ million payday for next year. And who knows how they're going to structure these contracts. I mean, so I looked at, who was I looking at? I was looking at, I believe, okay, so Jeff Passan was talking about Pete Alonso last year, coming off of his worst year of his career. This year, taking offense, taking everything to heart, taking insulting by writing Pete Alonso off. A lot of people wrote Pete Alonso off. A lot of people that Pete Alonso thought that had confidence in him and that believed in him, turned their backs on Pete. Pete, at the end of the day, he's good on the field. He's putting a good face on, but deep down inside, I think it's a burning and lighting a fire into him. So he's going to go out there and having Boris as his agent, they are going to capitalize in a big way. Alonso, according to Passan, has put himself comfortably into the $100 million category right now. $100 million category. Right now, he's in the $100 million category, and we're 1 month into the season. So Jeff Passan right now is saying that Pete Alonso, if he wins MVP, he's a $200 million man. A $200 million man, or if he's in the top 3, he's going to be a man. $200 million man. So I was saying in the first 2 weeks that I think it's going to have to be a Bregman like contract. If he's literally going to be the MVP or going to be a top 3 MVP candidate, you're going to have to pay him, like a Bregman like contract. Bregman, if for all you who don't know, got like a 3-year contract, $120 million, $40 million a year, with the option to opt out after every year. But here's the deal: Pete Alonso, if he wins MVP, you gotta assume that's going to be his best year of his career, 2025. And I mean, it's that's kind of like crazy, but it's probably most likely, if he wins MVP, going to be his best year of his career. If he hits over 300, I mean, the polar bear is a 260 career hitter. So, I mean, he is just doing unfathomable things right now. In fact, his WAR, I believe, is 2.4 right now. 2.4, a little over a month into the season. His WAR the entire last year was 2.6. 2.6, so almost the same amount. So Pete Alonso, according to most experts, looks to be aiming at a $200 million contract. The numbers just speak for themselves. He's first in batting average, first in on base percentage, first in slugging, and this is in the NL. First in wins above replacement at 2.5, second in the NL in RBIs, third in home runs, and he's first in also a bunch of other obscure stats. So Pete Alonso, the metrics, he is just killing it. He is killing it. And again, that ball last night that he hit in Arizona, he demolished it. He freaking demolished it. And like, I'm just looking at videos, the way he's standing, so calm, so upright. He's so much more flexible. I mean, so Pete Alonso's pace through 36 games is on pace for 40 home runs. And I also said, Pete, just back off on the home run. He'll always have home runs, but he's 40 home runs, 148 RBIs, 112 walks, 349 batting average, 469 on base, 674 slug. I mean, he's set to have an 11.2 F WAR. Insane. Insane, folks. Insane. Did I mention insane? So, I can understand why Mets fans want him here, but you know what? Pete right now is, he's out for blood. He wants everybody to realize that, they made a mistake. Everybody, not just the Mets. And the Mets, you could say, yeah, they're the ones who signed him, but they also gave him like, and this is the contract I predicted based off of his last year. Honestly, I'm going to say I predicted a lot of contracts right. Manaea, 3 years, $75 million. Got that one right on the money. And I said, you're going to have to give Alonso a contract average annual value of between $23 and $27 million. I said it'll be higher, of the higher range, if you give him a lower year contract. And it was $27 million for 2 years on average. So, but that's not going to cut it for a guy who is potentially an MVP winner. So there we are, folks. Let me know, what do you think about Alonso's situation? What are your feelings? And then I also have feelings that I think that, the Mets know how important Pete Alonso is to the franchise, and Pete Alonso knows how important it is to be a New York Met. So I also have that feeling as well. So, at the end of the day, I'm not really that worried. I know a lot of fans were thinking that, oh, Pete's just going to use the Mets, and just go elsewhere. I don't know. I don't think so. I think Pete just loves it here. I think the fact that he's playing so good is because he's happy here. Pete's got to consider that too. All right, folks. Thank you so much. I will talk to each and every one of you very soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The Mets have game 2 of their matchup against Arizona tonight, so we will see how that goes.